early.
Yo,
Yeah, we here.
we live, man.
Yeah,
Just in time.
we are here. It's another Friday. You
It
know what I'm
sure
saying?
is.
It's early as hell.
I just got one on that thing.
Oh yeah. Okay, let me get my live straight for
Good, but how
Instagram.
y'all doing today,
Okay,
man? It's episode
get straight real
52.
quick.
Early. You know, we back again. Glad for y'all tuning in.
Yeah, man. A lot of interesting developments this week. Let's get started with the sports world. You know what I'm saying? A lot of interesting developments in the sports world. Last night, the Chiefs and the Chargers played a crazy game. I caught some of it. But yeah, they definitely played a crazy game. The Chiefs beat the Chargers in overtime. Travis Kelce had a crazy touchdown to end the game. I feel like that game last night.
Travis Kelce, best tight end in the league.
That's undeniable. That's hands down.
I mean,
or you were just stating his name, Travis Kelce, best tight end in the league.
No, because he got it. And he's been at it for a long time. But I was gonna say, I don't think it's that flat out. I think
it's that flat out. What are you talking about?
Damn, I think when Kittle is healthy, George Kittle's a problem, bro.
Kittle is a problem. He is a problem.
Nah, I just don't think it's. I give you that.
No,
I'm not saying Travis is not.
Yeah,
but it ain't no leaps and bounds. That
Kittle's a problem. Don't get me wrong.
Right now, his first five, bro.
Yeah,
he about to break every single record for the tight end. Like, this dude's crazy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, he's on that. Yeah, he's on that track. Yeah, and with Jimmy G. And I'm not trying to knock Jimmy G, but I'm just saying, you know.
But Jimmy G, when he was around,
he was a bomber. Like, he ain't just. And the thing about it too is like, what was the record right now? It's actually the yards. He has 5 games this season.
Jimmy Graham? Kittle.
Yeah, he has 5 games. I think this season over 150, and no tight ends ever had a season where they've had over that.
That's crazy. That's a crazy statistic right there. Yeah. And yeah, don't get me wrong, bro. Like, George Kittle is tough.
No, but Kelce the dude.
But Kelce, like, I feel like Kelce's the standard as far as like nice tight ends,
and you
right?
have to also put the bowl on top. It's like, yo, bro,
yeah.
Something to fully,
he's accomplished. He's been here. He's been doing this, and he's still doing this.
Didn't drop off.
You know what I'm saying? Kittle is definitely coming into the fold, I feel like. And don't get me wrong, he was nice last year. You know what I'm saying? And
sure.
he's been nice. But I feel like it's always been like Kelce 1, Darren Waller, and Kittle 2. But like, Kittle's probably separated himself just because Darren Waller's not having a great year.
Right.
But I don't necessarily think that's Darren Waller's fault. Like, he's not on a good team.
Right.
Hey, yo, and he's the only.
Can I give a little shout out to my cousin, Brooke?
Where's 2 Brooks in the house?
Man, shout out to my cousin.
Shout out, Brooke.
I know he's tuning live from. Where is he living now? Where are you living now, bro? You in London? I think last time
overseas.
Last time I seen him was in Ethiopia, 2010. And
very tough.
It's the first time I seen him tune into the show. So
well,
that's
welcome,
really dope.
welcome, brother.
Bro. But what were you saying?
I was saying how Darren Waller's not having a great year, but it's not necessarily his fault. But yeah, I feel like number 2 has always been like Kittle, Waller, but number 1 has always been Kelce, clear cut. Yeah. And I feel like last night he had one of those nights that was like, nigga, this is why I'm the best tight end in the league. He had 10 receptions. I think he had 190 yards and 2 touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? He went stupid last night. But I think, the Chiefs, they're back. You know what I'm saying? I remember earlier in this season on this show, I was talking about how I don't know what it is with the Chiefs. Like, they're not looking like themselves. They're not even looking good. You know what I'm saying? Right. And I think that's kind of been put to. I'm not going to say put to rest. It's been put to rest. Like, they're back. They've probably won like 3 or 4 straight. They've beat some good teams in the last few weeks, and then last night was they needed that. As far as I think the AFC a lot was that was a big game for those 2 AFC teams. The Chargers are nice as well. The Chiefs are nice. So like, I felt like whoever came out of that game, you know what I'm saying, kind of I guess
solidified themselves.
Yeah. As far as like being because it's a toss up in the AFC right now, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it's a super toss up in the AFC. the Pats are probably still my favorite in the
So,
AFC right
yeah,
now.
so it's just like the season it has its ebbs and flows, but at least this one was definitely different from like recent memory from what we've known. The Chiefs usually just like blaze through it all,
blaze through it from beginning to the end of the season, and they started off super slow
I
this
know
year.
they've been receiving fair criticism, but I've always been on the mindset it's kind of like, yo, the league had to just recalibrate to y'all real quick.
Let it play
y'all
out.
were kind of like ahead of the curve for like a couple seasons, and Buccaneers kind of thwarted that when it came to the bowl. And they're like, yeah, bro, if that line is shaky, it's over. Like that's really where that battle was won, right? On both sides, and then everything else can happen. But yeah,
and their line kind of was it started off shaky this year. Like Pat Mahomes was out there running for his life. It looked like, you know what I'm saying?
And then it's like, when you have to rely on, your best player to be a magician all the time. If when you talk about
i.e. Ravens.
Right. And then he got injured. So he's right. But like but that's what it is. You realize like it's the ultimate team sport. So everybody's coming into full form now, and I'm not really surprised with that. I am surprised about how well Belichick's been able to coach the Patriots, though. That's what I'm surprised. That's the surprise.
They look fucking
Chiefs
good,
getting
dog.
back into rhythm.
Yeah.
I expect that. But at the same time, the fact that y'all got thrown off, I'm not like, damn, what's going on? Like
I'm not gonna lie. I was just like, what's going on?
I feel it. Yeah,
because those losses look bad,
right? And they
look
human.
bad.
Even
they look
Patrick
real
Mahomes
human.
Looks real human. Like real defeatable. But the way that, because I look at the Patriots rosters and I'm like, damn, bro, we definitely did overlook the what I'm saying. Just overall, definitely overlooked the fact that most of the defense sat out last year. We didn't go anywhere. We're not rookies. We know how the shit goes. You know what I'm saying? It's just back into formation with this shit. So it was way more stouter than what people realized off top. And they were always, I feel like, throughout the season, a good defensive team, but that shit just even warmed up. And offensively, Belichick, they go 3 running backs deep, and you have a quarterback in his rookie year, Mac Jones, where all you need him to do is, just truly just manage the game. Just manage the game. What we need you to do, just move them chains, and everything else is going to work. Just don't turn the ball over, and we're good. And I'm always going to, and that's like Belichick always puts that. Oh, word, audio messed up. Okay, word. Let's see what's up. Let's see on the IG live. Okay, back. So, there it go. We gotta fix that, Brody. Appreciate you, bro. We had a couple people come in.
Just in there. They just came in and dipped. How does it? Yeah, let us know how it sounds now. If it's still messed up, it's a buzz.
It's a buzz. All right. It's better. He said better. It's better. Okay.
All right. The Patriots are definitely impressive. Right. It's not a surprise. I mean, it's like more reason for why Bill Belichick is the.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's like Bill. Yeah, like we know, like literally, Bill Belichick has been touted. You know what I'm saying? Bill Belichick has been like touted as one of the greatest coaches of our generation. So it's like it's not a surprise that you know what I'm saying his team is doing well. You know what I mean? 100%. I think. Yeah.
Word. Okay. You're gonna get that situated. Is there any way where we can let a little?
I mean, there's no other cable, but
word.
We'll get to it, man. During the commercial break, we'll get to it. But I feel like Bill Belichick.
The link in the bio.
Yeah, straight up. Go to the I'm gonna great time to plug that link in the bio. You know what I'm saying? So you can get the audio experience and the full experience that's not buzzing.
Cool.
But okay, bet. Bill Belichick and them, they're nice. Speaking of, let's just go ahead and talk about Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer, I guess it was a long time coming, but he got the boot from Jacksonville mid-season, which in the NFL, it's rare you see a coach get fired mid-season, bro. Yeah. That's super rare.
But not even mid, right? Towards the
end. It's like they couldn't even finish it out with you, bro. They was like, just take your things and go. Like, yeah. That's very interesting, man. Like, definitely was a long time coming. Like, bro, I don't know one coach or one season I've heard so many things about a coach in than this one, bro. And this was his first year. You would think this motherfucker was there for like a couple years. Like, all this shit that you were hearing about him. And like, how this shit can go, I guess, from good to bad so fast. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
man. And like the last time, before he was before he had gotten this opportunity with the Jaguars, the last time we really heard Urban Meyer was just how it just ended, on a sour taste with Ohio State. Right. I think that was where he was at.
Did it end on a
No,
South
and
Chase?
it wasn't necessarily
I
this
don't
is the thing.
remember.
It wasn't football related. It was more so coaching staff related. And,
Uh-huh.
one of his coaches that he had kept on the team had like domestic abuse issues with
Oh,
his wife, whatever, and Urban
yeah.
Meyer like side
Turned
eyed
it,
it,
yeah,
and
turned a
boom,
blind
and
eye.
there it goes. So
Yeah.
with the climate of society, boom, the
Yeah.
school just separated themselves from Urban Meyer. But
So this
then
motherfucker was jobless when he got the Jacksonville joint.
exactly.
Oh.
And exactly. So just context, and then we have to also go a little bit back. He kind of left Florida, and he dropped a bomb. He did the historic things at Florida. So I think they got two national
Yeah.
championships.
He
over
was
there.
coaching Tim Tebow and them, right?
Yeah, but that's why Tebow always stand for him.
Yeah.
Always stand by his boy.
Oh yeah, he did bring in. He brought Tebow in to work out for Jacksonville.
Yo, I was gonna bring, but and we talked about that, and I thought
Yeah.
that was hilarious. We
Yeah,
definitely
I thought it was.
hilarious,
I thought. I mean,
But
so like
when you put it in
go
the
ahead.
mix, like when you put it in the mix and everything, like Florida, he destroyed that franchise. Like I got y'all chips, and then he destroyed them.
How did he destroy them?
Bro, he just basically, bro, he had like in terms of like the recruiting and everything, he made that like one of the most undesirable places to go, and then left.
Really?
And Florida had a slump. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Florida had a slump. And then went to Ohio State and just started doing this thing, and then boom, fast forward. So you got a job, man. You know what I'm saying? You were just you were a free agent in the job market, and you know how I was. You're gonna explain your perspective, but
Yeah.
I was just, I'm always critical when somebody's like, you taking L's, but you getting new opportunities. Not just any opportunity to prove that you can do something on a level you've never done it on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and to add to that, a team that is in dire need of a culture rebuild. This isn't deep. It's not.
Yeah.
And like Tom Coughlin was just here. And Tom Coughlin, his resume speaks for itself in the NFL. They got him up out of here for extending Blake Bortles and fucking alienating Jalen Ramsey and like so many things. Like, bro, they were in the AFC Championship like 3-4 years ago, bro.
Yeah.
They had a
crazy,
young, potent squad. Look at the team now.
And
Trevor Lawrence, bro. And I'm not even knocking him. I still think he has good promise, but like, look at the position this dude is in. This nigga has like what 9-10 touchdowns, 15, 16 picks on the season. It's just like you're not putting positions to win, bro. It's all bad. You're hearing rumblings from the locker room. Your fucking coach taking L's, go to the fucking bar. Let me go fuck with my little side joint in my Ohio bar. Like, we're in Ohio, like,
bro. After a Browns game or something like that, or a Bengals game.
Oh, you got business here.
Yeah.
Oh,
so you guys know how this is where my last gig was. Y'all know I'm out here.
I'll be in Jacksonville tomorrow.
It's like when I go back to Hampton, it's like, this is my stopping grounds. I can make a couple plays. You know what I'm saying?
Bro,
no, but it's like they all flew back, and he was like, "I'm gonna stay." He said, "I'm gonna stay, and I'll meet y'all back there."
He's like, "Yeah, I know my fault. Just when I lose, it hurts so bad."
Yo, my God. That nigga's on one. Nah, he was on one for sure.
He's funny,
but nah, I remember we were talking about like people getting opportunities and stuff like that. I mean, what's this world without people giving and getting opportunities, bro? Like that's what everything is based off. You need an opportunity, and I'm not mad at him getting the opportunity to coach in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta do it to know whether you can do it or can't do it. You know what I'm saying? Like we gotta see. You know what I'm saying?
But you're talking more so from like the skill and show and prove how it should be, but more so. But I'm gonna tell you right now, the owner got Urban Meyer because of name recognition. You think that's gonna fill up the seats? You think that's gonna build some type of hype? And it's also lazy because you're saying, nah, there is a track record. Look at the track record. But it's like, bro, that shit don't just carry. It don't carry. Oh, it's not. It does not. It's not 1-to-1. It is not 1-to-1 at all. And there's actually proof. It don't really work like that. Right now, you're having the Cardinals. So like this is one of the few times like Cardinals.
They got a new head coach too.
Yeah,
Kingsbury.
And,
or something?
Kingsbury could, if anybody could stand up for Urban, you'd be like, wait, I had a losing season as well at Texas Tech,
Yeah.
and I got a job.
Yeah. Straight
And I
up.
made it work. But prior to that, bro, you're not finding out one person. But
Yeah. I don't.
and then
Yeah.
even
It's
with it,
tough.
and then the Tim Tebow shit. So then when I think about that, I'm like, this is a relationship thing with you.
Yeah.
Also, there had to be some type of relationship or something that got you that job. That's just mad random. It's
Yeah.
like, and that's how it works, though. We're not gonna act like that's not how shit works. Relationships go a long way.
Yeah.
Go a long way in life.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to have the skills being capable for whatever the role is. Relationships go a long way. But the thing is, now that you got your shot, here it is. Prove it to us.
And that's what he
there-
didn't
and
do.
that's what he
Like
did not do.
he was
And they would not
squandering
give
the
him one
opportunity
season.
in
They
that
they wouldn't
sense.
give him a season to do it.
Yeah, I feel he couldn't even get a whole season to do that. But yeah, I mean,
Not like we
Urban
extended
Meyer's
it.
out of
It's
there.
17
I
games
feel
this
like
year. Can't do it.
yeah, it's like we don't want to be with you any longer, bro. Like any longer than we got to. So they got him up out of there. But it is what it is. I feel like shit. They were talking about, if we go to the NBA side, they were talking about Vogel. That's the Lakers coach, right?
Yeah,
they were talking about he might be up out of there because the Lakers look bad.
Yeah,
Lakers look so.
Yeah,
they just look like
shit like that.
it's not working.
like-
like
shit
whatever
like
they
that
were
is
trying to
like-
do, it looked like it's not working. You know what I'm saying?
What up, bro?
What up, Black bro?
Thank you for the love, Brody. But
yeah,
yeah,
it
to
just
that
look like it's
point,
not working.
bro, it's it's funny because when it comes to the Lakers, those players know it ain't a coach thing. But you know what I'm saying? Sometimes the first chip to fall when you're not performing up to expectations like this is gonna be the person that people were already doubting when this whole experiment started. You know? And one thing
Facts.
I'm gonna tell you, because
my
I
God.
was definitely, I don't know how I felt about Vogel as a coach. No, great defense. Look, it's very ironic.
Yeah.
Great defensive minded coach. He was with the Pacers and real good track record. They never really went all the way or nothing like that. But capable coach. But he won a ship with us, even though it was the bubble and shit like that. Gotta give respect. Like, he was the coach that we won a ship with. So I think it's so funny that, so what? Oh, it's him. Like, oh, it's the coach. Like, I'm look at the personnel. No. I see LeBron. I see Melo. I see Russell Westbrook. I see Anthony Davis. And then the supporting cast. Fuck out of here. Don't tell me y'all need somebody else. Like, he's not
to
putting
get
the
y'all
XO
together.
No, that is not it. But
y'all aren't kids at this point.
Exactly. But you know what I'm saying? That's really like how shit like that goes. And sometimes the momentum boost when you change shit up, that is real. And I think they could definitely make a better, like, is there a better option? Sure, but like, don't do a cop out and act as if that's why y'all not performing up to par.
Yeah.
The match is not, I'm be like, the personnel's not working.
Yeah.
Y'all gotta change that, That's what I would argue. So Vogel, it's like, it's unfortunate because you probably, you know what I'm saying? If
somebody's head got to roll, and
100%.
Unfortunately, like you said, because you were the one that we had the most doubts about anyway.
But out of 2 seasons, I won one ship. Man, we're in the third
That's
season.
what I'm saying. We're in the third season.
And I think the standard for that, like, people just gotta chill sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, y'all gotta just chill. Like, you gotta really build something here, bro. Everything is awesome, and ain't no instant gratification shit or like the name shit too. Because like, what people will think is like, even coaching has some type of allure to it. No, we want that coach for this franchise. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a real thing. So and being in LA, that's definitely something
eyes
that people
on
are
you.
thinking about, right?
Being that you have LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook all on the same team, like the motherfuckers are expecting. I mean, of course, because we're expecting championship, so that's why I'm like, the first quarter of the season, it's not that important. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're still in the first quarter of the season. Well, probably like the first third of the season right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
we're coming up on All-Star break probably in a month or two. So it's still super early, and I feel like it's not time to panic, but like, they don't look good. Like, they don't look cohesive.
It ain't never,
you know what I'm saying?
I would say with them, it's not even really like it's ever a panic time just because of who you got on the team, but it's more so like, yo, this is not gonna work. It's not even like a panic thing. It's like, add it up, it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna be no panic. Y'all not even gonna be at the point to panic about, Like for
Yeah.
losing in the second round ain't no panic shit. Like
Yeah,
you know, you didn't
yeah.
even get to
Or
like the
or
stakes
getting
ain't high.
slid up out the playoffs,
You
like not even
know,
making it. Like, yeah.
exactly. And then it's like if I contrast that with, how the Warriors look
I was about to say, what are
because
some
that's
teams
who they
that
would
you
have
think are
to.
looking good?
So the Warriors look great.
The Warriors look amazing.
The Warriors look
The
amazing.
Suns look amazing. Like, I
Suns
think those
is
teams are
bad.
both like 21-4, something like that. Like
Suns, I didn't
4 or 5
I didn't
losses
think they would just continue.
without Devin Booker too.
Yeah, actually, I should have known better. You know what? It's more so. I just thought that we would really be in the mix, so I wouldn't be looking at Suns how I'm looking at them now.
Mhm.
But
Because I remember we were like, we were talking. I think early in the season you were like, yeah, they're not gonna. They're like, yeah, they're not like what they did last year is the best they could ever do. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I remember you were saying that, and I was like, well, like,
but this is
I
the
mean,
thing.
they did it, so like they're probably a
Yeah.
good team.
And
You
I
know what
more
I'm
so
saying?
meant in terms of like getting to the actual finals. But that
Yeah.
team, no, they kept it intact. Like there's no reason why it shouldn't get better.
Yeah.
But I was more so saying, that last year that road was just very different. So
Yeah.
you can get better.
Yeah.
But it's like now when everybody got their troops,
Yeah.
let's run it back again. Like
Yeah.
Nuggets not having Jamal Murray was huge.
Yeah.
And Lakers, LeBron and AD just not being there
Yeah.
really all 100.
Yeah, they were hurt.
That was huge.
Yeah.
That's you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Get right over there. But fucking yeah, but it's interesting, dog. The East is really what's looking like potent. And bro, we
Yeah.
was talking about it. Like it's usually never like that. East is usually the conference.
Yeah.
In years past, you be under
like-
500 and get that eighth seed.
Yeah, but I
That would
was just
happen.
about
Like,
to say
yo,
it's
we'd be
like
42 and-
scrappy. It's
Yeah.
scrappy, like motherfuckers. It's just scrappy. But it's like you're always like the West is always looking at them from up there, and it's like
Yeah,
looking
like,
down at y'all,
we gotta
like
think-
fighting against each other.
think of
You know what I'm saying?
Think of the teams of this new era that is literally that is coming up. Fucking the Bucks.
Yeah.
that haven't
The
been
Bucks look
like the Bucks
so
weren't.
tough.
When we were coming
They're
up,
so
the
tough
Bucks
to
were
beat.
not. We're not
Yeah,
a
yeah,
team at
yeah.
all. Same with the Heat. Like after the
Heat,
Wade and the
tough.
Shaq era, and then
Yeah, yeah.
boom, and then
Before
after,
that, and then
LeBron,
after that,
after the LeBron and Wade era, you know what I'm saying? Boom, we had
Yeah.
this little lull. Now they back in the mix. Raptors in them like
yeah,
they you got rid of Rosen or Lowry, but
Yeah.
yo, we're still a
Fred
very potent
Van
team.
Vliet is
Yeah, still
pretty
a potent
tough.
team.
You know what I'm saying?
Wizards made significant gains as
Wizards
well.
are
Even
kinda
though
sliding.
they're sliding,
And it looks
sliding.
bad.
Exactly.
Like
They're sliding
they're
back.
losing a
And
lot of
I'm
games
not-
in a
and
row.
I'm not more so saying like they're off some
Cleveland though
Cleveland. That's a real
Cleveland
like
is
that,
looking good.
They're looking like we're pieces away.
Yeah,
It's like can't do nothing serious, but like we could fuck some teams.
that dude
aspirations up real
Jared
quick.
Allen is a problem,
Yeah,
and
100%.
Darius Garland he be
Yeah,
balling. You know what I'm
Garland is
saying? So
serious.
like.
And Pacers ain't going nowhere.
I think
Pacers,
Evan Mobley's on
yeah.
there. Pacers,
Pacers,
what do you think about the Pacers?
The
Like,
thing
I
about-
feel like
I don't
they're
know what their record
what
is,
they
but I think with the Pacers, with them is
they're like probably close to 500.
I think the
something like that.
organization is a little maybe getting a little jaded. They need a big splash. I think Sabonis.
Sabonis wants out of there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this week he said he wanted to trade. Like literally, like 2 days ago, he said he wanted to be traded.
How they play that, it's going to be everything.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna want some shit.
You're
with
gonna
Sabonis,
have to get something
I'm telling you,
substantial for him.
I'm gonna have to just let it think on that. But like teams
Cuz can go for a triple
there's a
double
market.
any night.
There's a market for
Yeah,
Sabonis.
yeah. And they
People
have
will want him.
good pieces. They got this dude named Karis LeVert that could score. They got Miles Turner. You know what I'm saying? None of them are Sabonis, but like, you know what I'm saying? If you get some good pieces for him, then, but also like, as far as like how they're doing as a team, I think they're like middle of the pack in the East.
I don't know what the Kings got. Like,
The Kings don't have anything.
Yeah, I can see, like,
They got
what's
Harrison
going on there.
Barnes.
It'd be
You know what I'm
crazy.
saying?
Sabonis, the Blazers need to make a play.
Oh, the Blazers
need to make a
The
play.
Blazers are like, I don't even know if anyone's taking them
make a
seriously,
play.
dog.
Nah, but
Like-
this is the thing. They were in that mix for the Simmons. I think that's like maybe.
Oh yeah, Curry
traction.
just broke the 3-point record. We didn't even
Yeah.
touch on that.
Yeah,
Like,
shout out
you know what I'm
Curry.
saying? Shout
Shout
out
out
to Curry for
Curry.
doing.
Yeah.
I feel like that was like inevitable, but it's crazy in how like he did it. I think in half the games that Ray Allen did, like
Jesus
something
Shuttlesworth,
stupid,
man. Yeah,
something
man.
stupid. You know what I'm saying?
I
Like,
mean, he still it looks like he got a good 7 to 10 years.
bro,
still.
like this
So,
motherfucker is going to that record is going to be impossible to break.
Clay will break this one that was made. I
Which
fully
one?
believe it.
He'll
Even
break what?
this record. That
He'll
Curry
break
just-
Curry's record. Oh, he'll surpass
this
Ray
one.
Allen.
He will not.
He'll be
exactly.
number 2.
Yeah.
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 I can see that happening.
Unfortunately, I'm so. I'll
It's
be
crazy
feeling-
he
I'll be
missed 2
feeling-
seasons.
And this one, so 2 and how many games that we've into this season? It's
Yeah.
like, yo, bro, Clay. would be right
You're right
there.
there. Yeah.
Like Steph is though, he got it, but
Yeah.
like Clay was literally, he's already on them all
Yeah.
time. You know, one thing that is so crazy to me, Harden is third all time. Like that's so crazy.
That is crazy. I didn't know that. I didn't even know
Harden's
that.
third all time. Yeah.
That's
It's
crazy.
just Curry's far away.
Yeah, yeah.
The front and Ray Allen is far away, but like Harden right there. Like Harden really done pulled that thing.
Yeah. Straight. But I feel like that's inevitable. You know what I'm saying? That nigga.
So
but
crazy.
also like
Harden,
because
like,
his game has kind of changed to how it is today. It's kind of just, I'm just like, huh? Like, you know what I'm saying? Because the last couple seasons, he's been more of a facilitator, not a gunner. Harden. The last, like, don't get me wrong, he'll have games when he's gunning when, like, you know, they're short, especially now that they need more scoring now that Kyrie's not there.
The thing is, though, if you Pete, like, Harden sometimes he be sicing it. You're right. He's such a great facilitator. He really, like, when he played point guard, now he's really a point. Like, he can really play point. He can really play two too. But he really be playing that point. But fucking I was gonna say, nah, he love that, bro. That fucking crossover step back got him in the biggest chokehold of choke. He will pull that step back every time. Like it's a hard shot.
Yeah,
that is a difficult shot. He don't just be stepping into shots a lot. It's really like like every time.
He'll dance a little
and
bit
he
and then
dance you and he low you and he's like, if you go press, I will pass.
Yeah.
You press me, I will pass you.
That's
like I will
fact.
literally pass you, and I will do the little lob up,
the
little lob up.
Oh
yeah, literally just do my little floater, my little layup to the lane. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, but I didn't know that he was third all time. That's very tough. But shout out to Curry for breaking that record. And then the time that he did it in, I think, is what's crazy. Like he just did 100%. It in like half the amount of games. 100%. Let's go ahead and go to a commercial. When we get back, we got the homie Amir Carter on. We're gonna talk about a lot of new stuff happening in the metaverse, and I think some controversial stuff. I don't know. People aren't super excited for some of these big corporations to be coming into the metaverse in the way that they are.
Right. Definitely perspectives of both sides.
Yeah, we're gonna get Amir's. I'm not speaking like this is his perspective. This is something I'm noticing. Right. So like we're all three gonna rap about that when we get back. And yeah. Let's get this little commercial going.
Make sure my vocals right. Make sure the beat right. Welcome to the 5th show.
Time to cuff.
Powered by ItsNation TV.
My God! Oh, no!
ItsNation TV.
That's why you try to get in line. Play, execute, have fun, dub.
I can do a lot more than what I think I can.
There he is. What it do, brother?
Yo, Brody, how you living, man?
Yo, man, I'm chilling, brother. I'm out in Raleigh, North Carolina. Shout out to the Crew Black Can, our esports team. We're currently about to go get registered for the Halo tournament. It's like their largest tournament in their game's history. So we finna compete in Raleigh for the majors and see where we play.
Yeah, you look like you in game mode, nigga.
Yeah, it's very lit.
Like, really focused,
bro. I'm locked in, bro. I'm locked in. It's crazy. It's crazy out here, but
that's tough.
We finna show out, bro.
Do they have any integration in terms of like any blockchain type thing, Web 3.0 activities, or no? It's just like you're just really showing up.
Nah, bro. It's literally we're like probably the only like crypto native esports team competing right now.
That's
like
tough. That's
straight up, and we're like our seeding like places us in like the top 30 teams in North America right now. Brand new team in August, bro, and we're stupid right now. We're going nuts.
That's tough. Is there gonna be any live streams or anything like that when you post, like, or?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So Halo Championship Series is gonna stream on Twitch. I'm gonna be posting all the links the minute I take the rest of the team out of registration. Like, I'll let you know everything.
Say less.
For sure. And yeah, good luck with that shit too, bro. I know y'all gonna kill it, but you know what I'm saying? Very, very fire.
That part.
You said North Carolina you guys are in?
Yes, sir, Raleigh.
Lit. So we were just talking about Nike buying Artifact Studios. Let's get your initial take, you know what I'm saying, on what you thought about the news and what you're thinking about when you first heard it, what you're thinking about it now. Like, what's your take on it?
There's two sides to everything, right? I think in some
Sure.
in some way, more money into the space is good, but also the question is now, even though, like, the question is, if you're a Web3 entity, what's better? Partnering with a Web2 company or getting bought out by a Web2 company?
Right.
And I think if you get bought out by a Web2 company, what happens to your community members? Do they still get the benefit of that buyout? Or is it just the core team? Like,
Right.
how does that shake out? Because we're in gray, murky water right now, right? Like, if you have any entitlement to value or like tokenized value, for instance, like, you may or may not receive it, because then you might be entering into like security territory. But if you
Right.
hold NFTs, do your NFTs increase in value or do they drop in value? And then as a result of that, what type of rights do you now have with your NFTs? Because they're now kind of technically owned by a different entity, and it's no longer really just Artifact now. These are
Right.
Nike's NFTs now. And if you look at the
Right.
terms and conditions related to the recent drop, the Clone X drop, a lot of there were certain things that had some commercial rights, and most of the things didn't have any rights at all. And then you have
Like the word
parameters on
economy.
how you could even sell the NFTs.
Right.
Yeah, I think no, you raised some interesting points, but I feel like when it comes to like my initial take on it was, okay, when we talk about partnering versus being bought out or acquired, I think there's not as big of a difference than as people realize, just in the sense that now that Nike has acquired Artifact, I don't think that that completely changes Artifact and what they do. I think that now it's like, okay, Nike has, I guess, first right of refusal for like the products that they make and the products that they're innovating on, and then they also have like, it's like they're in-house producers for the things that they want to make. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I see it when a company gets acquired by another company. Think about Instagram being acquired by Facebook. Instagram stayed Instagram. Facebook, took some of its technology for itself. It imposed some of the things that it does on that. But for the most part, Instagram is still Instagram. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of how I think about Artifact with Nike. I'm like, to me, I think it's not just going to flat out. I'm not looking at it like it's just going to flat out change now. I think maybe I also could be just like optimistic about, like, you know what I'm saying? I hope it's for the best type of shit. You know what I mean? But that's kind of my initial thoughts. I feel like people were automatically going to like, well, this is going to change everything about Artifact. And I don't necessarily see it that way, because I've seen companies acquire other companies just so that they can have the like first, right of refusal for like their technologies, or like first dibs in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, you guys are making this, like, we could use that. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Right.
let's use that on our products, and we don't have to necessarily pay you guys to do it, because like we're are already partnered. You know what I mean?
Right.
Soft counter.
Yeah.
The Facebook to Instagram situation is like Web2 to Web2, and
Mhm.
employees didn't have a say in the matter. It was, we getting bought out and motherfuckers is getting cut, right? The brand
Well, do people
name
get cut from
stayed the
Instagram? Like,
same, right?
if a company gets bought by another
Yeah,
company,
so
it's not so
so
much.
it depends, right? So like, what normally happens is, if a company buys, it depends on what they're buying. If they're doing an
Yeah, yeah, facts.
acqui-hire, right, then that's like, they're acquiring the company and hiring key members. But they don't normally keep the entire team. They end up subsuming a good amount of it, and then releasing what they consider like wasteful. To So it's very extractive in that context. The brand name ends up staying the same, of course, because they don't want to ruin the mind share that people have already built. Like Instagram already had crazy following, over 100 million like users. So it's very hard to then pivot and say, "Oh, this is Facebook gram now." Like they're like, "No, we got to keep the brand name." But without getting into like the semantics related to that, I'm thinking the I'm not optimistic nor am I negative. I'm kind of like in the middle. Mainly because I kind of knew like Artifact, their entire goal was to get noticed by Nike and to get picked up by them. That the goal for them was kind of always that through line of like we trying to get with Nike.
Yeah.
And by the support of their community, they now got picked up by Nike. But now, because
So it's
the
like mission
deal
accomplished
is
for them, honestly.
non-disclosed, it's mission accomplished for them as the core group. But
Right.
as the community, many members are left with, well, we didn't know this was happening. Is this a good thing? Well, we don't know if it's a good thing because the terms are not disclosed. We don't know what terms these are. So
Right.
now the community is asking themselves, well, what role do we actually play in this community as members? Do we have governance? Do we have a say in how products and things are made, or now are we just kind of like the glorified test bed of users that Nike now has access to? Like, how, who are those people really in that mix? So now I think they're faced with that kind of question, and hopefully it's not existential. Hopefully it's one that they can answer very succinctly and say, well, as a result of this sort of like acquisition, um, the community still has an ability to govern X, Y, and Z things. It may not be the entire purview anymore, but in that sense, we now have this other question. Uh, does the quality of what Artifact gets their hands into to utilize or to build better because it's now filtered through the lens of Nike? Or do you sacrifice the wackiness that a community member may come up with that may have some sort of virality because of these community members? Do you lose some of like the serendipitous moments of making something ridiculous happen just because you could? So now that like how do you mitigate the balance between sort of like organic ideas that may be nonsensical but may have some real profit engine, for example, like just memified culture in a sense, or do you now like button up and get access to potentially more interesting projects now that Nike is like kind of like your big brother guiding that community through things and saying, well,
And
these are
do you,
initiatives that we want to handle. These are initiatives that we want to do.
do you think a question that some of these companies that are getting built in like these Web 3.0 infrastructures, do you think something that they factor into their process is like maybe if they say no to like this big power player that's actually trying to buy them out, that they might render themselves obsolete if they make that competition? Like, what if they just said no? Like, how would Nike
Shit,
would
they
have went
probably
about
said
like
no to
that?
a bunch
Like,
of other companies for sure.
for sure,
I'm
but
sure like Nike was not the first people to be like, yo, like
oh, but
we want to acquire
I'd say,
you.
but Nike, I feel like is definitely like a titan in a whole nother respect as well too, because it's like if they see the significance within the space, they're like, well, we're gonna do this regardless. But we've seen that y'all have done like a lot
And
of
that's
legwork within this shit, so why would we expend the time? Because
well,
that's
that's the thing,
that,
and that's why companies acquire companies, because it's like you guys can do this. Like you're proving that you can do this. You know what I'm saying? We need this, so we're gonna acquire you so that a section of your company can do this solely for us. But they're not in the business of shutting down what y'all are doing, and you know what I mean? Like they're not in the business of making y'all not work on the things that you were working on anyway. You're supposed to innovate. You're supposed to do all that type of shit. But we want to be able to have that done for us too from the best. That's why,
right.
you know, companies
They
get
could have
acquired
partnered
by
with
other
them
companies.
You know,
though. They didn't necessarily have to acquire them though. They could have partnered.
Well, that's the best way to guarantee that you can have that. Like you
Of
don't have
course,
to
but
acquire,
see,
but that's as a company, that's the best way to guarantee that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the
but
best way
that's
to
why you get back to
guarantee
that
that you have
question.
them working for you.
But that's why you get back to that question now. Is Artifact Web3? Because I don't think Artifact is Web3, but I think it uses blockchain technology, and I think it leverages like NFTs. It can help
Word.
foster some Web3 communities, but Artifact is no longer and I don't even think really was a Web3 entity. It was
You're
always
right.
a
Yeah,
You know,
and that's what I
business.
was even gonna ask
when I
too.
You know
bought
what I
into
mean?
the shoe, actually, like I did use my debit card. Like I wasn't. I
Yeah,
forgot I think it was like Bitski. I
yeah,
forgot the
Yeah.
platform that I actually bought it on. But yeah, you're right. You're right. That's definitely how it was. I think they're onboarding. They're really trying to like service the whole market. Like, you know
yeah.
what I'm saying?
Because I think that's actually a great point that you're making, because that's why, like, yeah, it seems like there's like heartbreak around the news from, you know, a lot of community members, and I feel like, well, a win is to me, it should be like, well, a win is a win. Like, if you are invested in this company, then, you know, I feel like the stock went up. You know what I'm saying? Like, getting acquired by
You
Nike
may
is
have
a
to
big
dox
deal.
yourself though
That should
now.
increase your. You said what happened?
You may have to dox yourself though, because now like the way you look at your assets and the way in which your stock goes up is now different. Because like depending again, and it's really depending on how the deal's structured. If the hold on a second. If the hell
Oh no, we can't hear you, bro.
Okay, I'm in my car and my Bluetooth fucking went off. Give me one
Yeah,
second,
now
okay?
you're good. Yeah, now we're good.
Let me just Alright. I'm back. I'm back.
All right,
My
bet.
phone being too smart. Nah, but
Too smart.
but nah, if you're like again like and thankfully Artifact doesn't have a token, so there's like less issue there, but all your assets, all your value is tied up in these NFTs that they have. And like at this point, depending on what Nike decides to do with them, if Nike allows these community members to stay anonymous, then optimistically this may actually work out. But if Nike is now all of a sudden like, yo, so that we have our stuff clear with our shareholders and everyone else that we're beholden to, your community may have to dox themselves in order to do anything further to for artifact stuff to like permeate into the Nike framework. And if they don't do that, then we liquidate their assets. Like we buy it from them off of a certain percentage. This is like, for example, like one particular scenario that could potentially happen out of like many, right? But I think people were really thinking about the worst case scenarios because there's so much um uh uh uh
Because
what
we're
is it
used to being
questions,
disappointed.
true, but also questions related to the
Just,
deal.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But I feel like even though a win is a win for Artifact, it may not be a win for their community. But for me, I'm not surprised because Artifact was never really like a Web3 community to me. It was always
Right.
a business that set out to use this technology to
Yeah.
build whatever their vision was. And I'm like, I don't fault anyone for doing that. I think that that's you can't call
And that's
yourself
yeah,
Web3,
yeah.
but I do understand why you would build a business using blockchain tech because it is incredibly smart to do so. And like I urge more people to do it. But when they start talking about Web3, that's when you really get into like what does it really mean to like be decentralized? What does it really mean to have a community that is like a part of your value, gives you that value, and like cash out on that value at any given point in time? And now that you kind of created a master above them, now it's just sort of like, well, my autonomy is now challenged. I'm not, they're not entirely sure how they can operate within this framework, so they're just
Yo,
confused.
and that also brings to mind like another question. So the day after the mint of the vials and everybody was turning their shit into clones, the next day they're like, okay, so for all the clones, you have commercial rights to up to $1 million, and then the Murakami can't touch that, and then so then it brought up to mind you had like people both sides of the fence. I wanted to know how important is it that like this NFT even gives IP rights over? Like, how significant is that? Because a lot of people don't even necessarily, I guess, understand what that actually means, or like, because I don't like, I don't expect Murakami to give up any, IP, but at the same time too, sometimes it's like an NFT space. I guess it breeds this culture of like that's expected. You know what I'm saying? Because there's so many projects in which you're allowed to do whatever it is that you'd want to. So like, how do you feel about that? Like the significance of having those rights obtained like through a purchase of an NFT.
Word. So there's several projects that have had sort of like open commercial rights. One of the earlier ones being hash masks. Um,
Mm,
and I think like what's interesting about like them, about Bored Apes, for instance, is that it creates more monetizable channels for people who are very good at marketing, or very good
word.
at like sort of like crafting a story, right? So, you didn't really see it with the hash mask community too visibly. Um, but for example, Bored Apes, there are a dime a dozen of these people who've created entire personalities related to the ape that they have, the number eight that they have.
So like Punk's
And
Stomach, for instance, like would that be an
yeah,
example? Like somebody building a whole
that
project based off of what a project, like because the Board Apes exist, now we can build off of that infrastructure a whole nother community.
pretty much exactly. So it's like,
Or
yo, if I own this ape, then I could use this ape. If I wanted to build like a pizzeria, I could use that ape as like the logo or the mascot, for instance. If I wanted
or
to like build like merchandise or like license my ape off to like Supreme, for instance, I could do that, right? Like these are the type of like commercial rights that are interesting. But I think the reason why it's not really leveraged that much is because most people don't really know how to convert assets that they have into properties that can make them revenue, right? Because all of it
Facts.
takes an incredible amount of work to pull off, and there's no one
right.
size fits all thing. Like, oh, make your asset into a T-shirt, make your asset into this, make your asset into that. We're gonna see probably the Web3, Society 6, and all these other things. Like, I think Meta Factory is probably on track to do that. I don't really rock with their quality, but I mean that's whatever.
You
Um,
said
but
Meta Factory?
yeah, Meta Factory.
Okay.
Um, but like, but I think yeah, like people don't really know how to convert commercial rights into anything substantial. So like it's almost like why give commercial rights if you know that your community probably is going to struggle figuring out how to leverage those commercial rights, or the commercial rights, excuse me, might be used within a particular parameter that you might not like, or you might
Right.
not like, um, and because it's I guess somewhat decentralized, you may not even know what it's being used for, which I
Right.
guess is the pro and the con related to it. But I just think it's like it's interesting, but I'm not sure how folks are going to use Clone X unless they're probably going to be like, oh, let's build a game out of it, which most people say they're going to build a game, but they don't realize how hard building a game actually is.
Sounds fucking hard.
Like,
Yeah.
and how expensive it is. It's not just like, oh,
Facts.
1-2 devs game. It's like, nah, like
Yeah.
this is like 80 hours a week type shit. Like, yeah, it's
That
crazy.
kind
It's
of
crazy.
that kind of plays into how I think about. So one of the, I guess, most important things about these Web3 companies, and I was even going to kind of ask you this as a follow up to the last thing that we were talking about with Nike and Artifact. Um, make does would you say that a company is a Web3 company if it has a community that it's fostering and building upon? Like, is that a stipulation to being a Web3 company? Because I feel like answer that question first.
So I think there's an addition because every company has a community in a sense,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah. I mean, they
and I
do,
but I
but
guess
also not
I guess
every company has a community.
I would say semantically, every company has customers, right?
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
on top of that, sometimes those customers can become community members. I would say, for example, like some of the biggest brands, we're all customers of Nike, but we're also a community but not we don't exercise the powers of our community from a position that allows us to influence Nike. But we
Yeah.
are community members that come together because we like Nike. We celebrate some of the things that the stories that it's given us. We celebrate the collection of our kicks, our shoe game, or whatever it is, our run clubs, stuff like that. Like those are things that are indicative of community, but they're not from a Web3 perspective because there's no governance. That's like the key difference. The key difference is we're a community that can govern. We have,
Let me touch on that. Let me
yeah,
touch on that real quick. Um, so like I agree with what you're saying when we're talking about, consumer facing companies, like companies that are directly in front of the average consumer. But there's a whole like plethora of companies that work business to business that are only they only do business with the businesses that we see as consumers. You know what I mean? So when I look at something like Artifact, like yeah, they've built a community off of the strength of them just being dope as fuck and putting out all these amazing NFTs and products and all this type of stuff. But they look like to me like a technology company. Like they're innovating, like they are leading technology in this blockchain space in their own way, whether it's like just fashion or whatever. Like in their way they're doing that. So when I look at Nike acquiring them, it's like it's like a business to business move, you know what I mean? So it's like, to me it's like and I'm talking about, I'm using this instance as an example for like companies that will be acquired because of the technology that they make and how other companies can benefit from their technology. Like think about Amazon Web Services. Like every humongous company uses Amazon Web Service. You know what I'm saying? Like Amazon Web services all the companies you can think of. You know what I mean? So like you have these companies that it's their, like their product is, or their service is servicing other companies who service consumers like us, and we the consumers build community around that. You know what I mean? So I feel like um every company that comes out in Web3 can't be graded on like their community or how they're fostering their community, because some companies are made to service other companies who service communities. Does
That's
that
why
make
I
sense?
guess that's why it's an addition, right? I guess it's more so like the emphasis is more like, I guess the take was like that governance, right? So being able to actually direct or have a say in
And then
how
even
something is,
governance,
like
I
for
feel,
instance,
yeah,
I
go ahead,
want
go
to
ahead.
bring it like,
Yeah.
and I want to see how what your thoughts on this, like ENS, so like the Ethereum name service, right? So this is a DAO, and supposedly your ENS token gives you some type of say or a vote in the matter in terms of like how this protocol develops over time. But then you have people just saying, well, okay, so I just buy more ENS and I have like more say. So like in that sense, is that governance? Like is that governance? But like I can literally just buy in my fair share say, and I can tell you how like the direction of which way, like Coinbase is trying to be a delegate and all these huge powers are trying to be a delegate. So like, am I supposed to believe like as an individual, I'm also going to be influencing how this grows over time?
right. So you bring up a couple different things, and I sort of want to find a way to address all of them, right? So um, before I get into the governance, I'm gonna just tackle the business to business thing in like 2 minutes. Um, B2B is not necessarily just like about acquisitions, but it's also just about partnership or working with each other in tandem for a common goal, which is something that within the Web3 phenomena already happens without buying or selling of a particular company. It's taking the tech that's already open source and building on top of it, and giving credit back to and routing value back to the business that you built your business on top of. For example, like Zora, right? Like Zora is one of the best examples of using the Web3 paradigm because they're completely permissionless. Any and everyone can build on top of Zora protocol and build a site off of it, build an auction house off of it, build mint NFTs, right? Do their whole thing, um, without having to without Zora having to buy them, without anyone having to kind of have like a particular discussion or conversation related to like dollars and cents. It's really just, here's this tech. I found a wave and a lane to build on top of. I'm going to build on top of it. And everyone's going to know, because it's open source, that I built this from Zora. This is from there, which then allows other people to buy into what Zora is building and build on top of that. And once Zora gets enough mindshare, they could, for example, release a token or release an NFT or release something of big value that can be routed to all of its community members that have used its protocol in the pursuit of something larger than Zora itself, as a way to reward that community for giving them so much, right? And this is the sort of thing about like what separates Web3 from Web2. Web3 is giving agency back into the hands of people, and it's giving value back into the hands of people, right? And a lot of that is done through governance models that we're starting to see like merge. And so like it's not to say that like businesses don't get bought out, but what you lose is the permissionless factor of what you're building. Because now Nike is not, unless we see this, but I haven't seen this yet. But if Nike goes out and says we're going to open source our tech, then your argument stands, right? Your argument can make sense in that context. But if Nike's like, we're not opening shit, like Artifact is like a property of Nike, meaning like, even though you're going to be able to see moves that happen on chain because they're just, anything that's on chain is transparent, we're not necessarily going to make it so that you could just build off of what we're building. So for example, like Coinbase works in the crypto space, but you can't fork its tech. You just can't. They won't allow you to. And that's different from the decentralized exchange like Uniswap. You can fork Uniswap and build your own version of it, which is why we have PancakeSwap, SushiSwap, 1inch, all these joints, right? Like tons of them. So that's kind of like, for me, that's the core difference between how B2B manifests in Web 2 versus B2B manifestation in Web 3, is that everyone can build off of everyone's things. So I'm gonna hold that part. I'm gonna hold that point there. I'm gonna go into this governance real quick. With governance for ENS, it's tricky because to somewhat solve the issue of a whale buying up a bunch of the token and now having a bunch of governance power, they basically demand delegation. Or no, they don't demand it, but they say you can delegate your voice, your voting power to someone else. And I think what that does is that it allows certain individuals that can be representative of a community to be the beacon or the pillar or the voice of that community as a delegator. And even though they may not necessarily have a whole lot of voting power, what this creates is something similar to what we already know in American politics and democracy, right? Which is electives, your House of Representatives, your Senate members, so on and so forth. People that have a constituency, which would be like sub-community members in this sense, that have delegated power to that person to speak on their behalf, right? Everything that we're seeing in Web3 is basically many things that are already indicative of democracy and the politics that we already go through, except now, in many ways, people were saying take money out of politics. Now there's sort of a fusion of money in politics, but everyone now understands what everyone's weight is. We couldn't understand or see transparently how people had positions of power currently, but now with Web3, we can see what everyone's stake in everything is because everything's transparent. So it changes the lid on how we view and operate ourselves within this sort of context. So we can start to see if somebody is buying up a lot of ENS, it can mean one or two things. If we look at their wallet history and if we see that they are buying and trading often and not participating in governance, then we know what those plays are. They're just playing off of what everyone else is doing. But if we see people who are buying up and also participating in governance, now we have a better idea and understanding of like what their motivations might be. We can see what type of like if they're building something, if they've deployed a contract, we could start to like detect and paint the picture as to why this particular wallet address or other wallet addresses are engaging in this so heavily. There might be something at stake that they're building or something that they're wanting to do that like, they're either hedging against or, placing their bets on. So there's a whole thing to this transparency aspect that truly makes it Web3 that wouldn't make it Web3 if it's hidden in that context.
Word.
Yeah, I hear that. I do have another question about the governance thing. I think going back to what you were saying about, it uh if somebody gets an NFT that the Clone X joints.
Yep.
Like I agree with what you're saying in the sense that it takes a whole nother skill to now be able to turn that IP into something that can be even remotely interesting to a market of people if you want to, use that to make money off of. And even a Bored Ape, like if you have a Bored Ape and you want to turn it into your mascot for a restaurant, that means you got to learn how to open a restaurant. And like, you know what I'm saying? Like like just having it doesn't give it the value that people are saying you can have from it, right? I feel like governance kind of crosses that. It's the same kind of vibe to me. Like everybody shouldn't be able to have a say in the direction of a company because not everybody's knowledgeable in like why a company should go where it's going. You know what I mean? Like, so I feel like I think
Yeah,
we
I
were talking
agree
about this
with
the other
you.
day. It's like sometimes you can have these too many cooks in the kitchen vibes where it's like, okay, everybody, like literally everybody has a say. What do we do? Does
I agree with
that
you.
come up?
No, I agree with you. And I think this is where two things, right? Web3 is primarily transparency, secondarily governance. But I think with
Okay.
communities, right, you should also find ways to build parameters around what community members can govern. I think most people don't do that though. That's the problem. Most people don't talk about like what does governance mean in the context of this community. So for example,
Yeah.
Blackhand, like my esports organization, right? I have community members governing like what type of games we could build a team around. Doesn't mean that we will actually build a team, but if there's an interesting enough proposal that somebody puts up, and we can at least put this here and say, all right, this is an interesting game. Let's do more research into it and let's see if we need to raise money and see if there's a viable market for us to build. Once we build the right type of tools, then like people can just run with it. But for now, we've got to be a lot more intentional about how we set things up. But I think most people, when they don't have those conversations with their community, the community members feel as if they have full say on everything. And that's not primarily the case. You're entrusting somewhat core contributors and other part-time contributors to build and execute this vision that everyone gets to be a part of. Most people, like when you think about a community that's built up, you're going to have a subset of that community that's all speculation. They're playing the market because they know that this might be a hot opportunity for them to jump on. But that's good because that's what helps increase your value in certain ways. Then you have folks that are like, I'm here in support. I'm not necessarily sure what I can do, but I do support this. And so like they may be like your external voices that you may be able to leverage to for folks to market, right? Like for people to say you should jump in on this because I think it's cool. Then you have your part-time and your core contributors, the folks that are actually doing a lot of the work to make sure that it actually becomes viable. And with that, there's governance that should be broken down with all of these different groups. And I don't think many people spend a lot of time crafting what governance really looks like for them. So that's how you get into the issue. But besides the governance, even if I couldn't govern what artifact does, if it gets acquired or not, transparency is still important. And that's not what people got. But I understand that when you deal with deals like this, they are often always undisclosed.
Yeah.
They're often always NDA to shit, and they're often always like, if a peep gets let out, then everything is over. So it's very hard for it was a challenge for them to figure that out. Now I think Nike, knowing what it's doing, because Nike's not stupid, they could have figured out a way legally. They could have paid the fee for this to figure out how to break down what is happening for this community without getting into the weeds of what the deal is. I think they could have figured that out. And the fact that everyone was shocked and figured out like in the middle of this drop, for me, did not necessarily feel good. It was like, oh, that's cool, I think. Does that impact me really? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I think that's good. I get it's Nike, right? Like, so
I don't know.
but
You
that's
so like you thought that? Like I feel like I mean Nike like I was like excited for Artifact.
Adidas is
You know what I
dropping
mean?
today, right? Adidas got the drop today.
I believe so. I haven't checked.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. So that's happening as well too. I don't know what platform or where that's dropping, but
because I know Adidas
here
had like before they drove.
yeah.
Yeah, I was
They
like,
were predicting
okay,
then, but
like Artifact is has arrived. Like if like straight up, if like Nike wants you outright, you know what I'm saying? Like that means you've developed some crazy tech that they because the thing is, it's
no,
like
it's a statement for sure.
it's like you know I want to say like fucking Google buying YouTube. You know what I'm saying? It's like you guys are onto something amazing that like we just need. Like if we're gonna be the biggest company on the internet, we got to have the biggest, like the second biggest company on the internet. Or you know what I mean? Like
No,
to me, it's
I
like
trust me. Like I understand like your position. Like I don't dispute it. To be honest with
mhm.
you, but it's just something that like as we really start to define because we're this early, right? As we start to
And
define
I've heard
what
a lot of people.
Web3 truly
Yeah, my bad.
means. No. I'm just saying, like, like when we're defining what this space means, moves like this are important for us to break down and to look at from all angles because
Yeah,
it's gonna more of this is going to present itself, right?
hundred
Opportunities to
percent,
get purchased by companies, they're gonna make themselves apparent. But now it really is up to like we gotta really look at those deals. We gotta really be intentional about like, yo, like what does this mean for the folks that have been building with me? If G2 Esports or Red Bull comes through and says we want to buy Blackhand outright, I got to be like, well, shit. How does that affect like my 700 community members? How does that impact my pro teams? Like,
well, you would
are
definitely
we
know
still
all of that based on why they want to buy you. Because like people buy
maybe
or companies buy companies for specific reasons. Like
this is
it's
true.
clear why Nike's buying Artifact. Like they're the
This
best at making
Yeah,
metaverse fashion, and Nike's trying to get into metaverse fashion. They had to acquire the company that's the best at it.
but to that point, you could very
possibly
well just buy the tech and say fuck the community.
Well, that's what you're doing, but that's what you're. Well, I'm not saying that that's what they're
that,
gonna do,
No,
but I'm saying
I'm
like you're
saying it's
buying
not.
that.
It's not
I
like you're
think
getting
there's
everything.
an
Like
assumption, but I think there's an assumption that that's what Nike's going to do, and I'm like, why? In my head, I'm like, why would Nike do that? Like that's what Artifact
because
is. It's
many
community.
true, but many companies though, like, and again, this goes back to what happens when companies buy companies. It depends on what they want to do. That's why you have to negotiate them, right? It's not always clear cut. Nike could come through and
Hmm.
be like, "Yo, we only just want the core talent," and Artifact may have been like, "Well, that's true, but like, if it wasn't for our other 20, part-time contributors, we wouldn't even get here. So like, we gotta find a
They
way
would
to distribute."
100% know that before the deal gets done,
Well,
though. Like they
nah,
would
but that's not.
100% know.
But
Like,
no,
are you planning on?
but I'm saying that's not always clear in the very beginning. That's why these deals take 6 months or more. It's not just clear cut. Like this deal didn't happen out of osmosis. You feel me? Like this is a
Mhm,
like Nike doesn't just acquire people. Their
mhm.
acquisition history is very sparse. So they do it for very, very like pointed reasons, which is to your point. But the other thing though is that like Nike is going to get what it wants. It doesn't necessarily give two shits about like who is behind what it's buying, but it understands and knows what this means to them for market positioning, what it means to them for their stock price, what it means to them for like how they can push innovation, but that doesn't necessarily always translate to a feel good story for the people that they're buying from. And I'm not saying like Nike is going to be is going to like completely fuck this process up because I don't know. But
Yeah.
what I am saying is that companies like a Nike do have a history of buying stuff, saying fuck you to everyone that has worked in that thing because they really only wanted the tech. Or what Facebook does. Facebook will buy a company and not use its tech. It just wants it out of the market. It just wants it out of
Yeah.
competition. And like
Straight up.
that's
Yeah.
you feel me? So, like that's other shit.
Amazon.
That's what makes it not Web 3. That's what makes it still Web 2. But we don't know because we don't know what the deal is. Because there's no transparency around what deal they signed, all of what we're talking about is pretty much speculation. It remains to
Yeah.
be seen what this partnership or what this acquisition actually looks like in the long term. And I'm not gonna like just allow marketing to dictate for me what it is. This space is about action. So when Nike shows us what the fuck it's about, then we could be like, we should revisit this and see what happens.
Yeah.
Um, but
That's fair.
that's why for me it's like I appreciate your optimism, but I'm looking at it from a perspective of I've seen the history of how these companies work, and it ain't always roses. Like I mean, it ain't always like fucking
Yeah. It's
daisies and
rarely
shit. Like
it's rarely
it
roses.
it's really like on some nah, bro. Like thank you for the tech, appreciate you. We're gonna like let you go in a year because like we don't need you. We're just gonna pay you off as part of our deal. Not saying like he's gonna do that, but like that's why nobody fucks with Facebook. Because they're ruthless and efficient. Um, Nobody really be fucking with Google like that because they do the same thing. Apple low key does the same shit. Like mad companies do this. So that's why I'm like, I got my eye open. Like I'm really trying to figure out what you're about. So that's why I'm not like
Smart.
but yeah.
Smart call.
Nah, yeah, I hear that. Yeah, and I will say I am looking at it from an optimistic perspective, just because I feel like, I mean, like you said earlier, like Nike is a smart company. So to me, the smart move would be to not fuck up a good thing. You know what I mean? But also the smart move is to like if I could pay to have Brooke do what he does best for me, but also do it for like wherever he goes and does it, I would do that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's smart. So that like I know he's great at what he does. I wouldn't interfere with what he does. I would be like, yo, like just when I need something like this, like do this. That's like having a lawyer on retainer type shit. You know what I'm saying? I look at that relationship looking like that.
Yeah.
Like we're not here to fuck up what you're doing and what you do great, but we want first dibs when we need you to work on something that we need worked on. Like if we need, you were bringing up, what's this do for athletes who have shoes in the metaverse and like all these kind of things that you can do with all these players that are under Nike contracts in the metaverse. Artifact will be able to curate those things for you like that. You know what I'm saying? But also work on the shit that they're working on. You know what I'm saying? I see companies that operate in that way all the time. You know what I'm saying? I had a homie who was on this podcast who his company got bought by, he started a limousine company. It got bought by another limousine company and they kept everybody up, and he was the first person to leave. You know what I'm saying? He had to stay, part of the deal. He had to stay for at least a year just to like onboard new people and kind of like merge the companies. But after he left, like all the people that he brought with him still had jobs. They didn't change, anything. And that's like one instance. But there are instances where, companies acquire companies so that they can just use what they need, but they're not here to fuck up like what you've built. That's why they want you. Like, you
I
know what I
would
mean? It's like I
say
want you because you've built something great.
I
Yeah.
feel you on
But we'll
this.
see.
I would say like the big caveat to it all though is the with the limousine thing with many other businesses, most they never had communities that also had ownership in
Hmm.
what they're doing, right?
Yeah,
But I
I hear
think
that.
in
That's the difference
Artifact's
between
case,
Web3 and Web2.
I think in Artifact's case, because they didn't have a token, it allowed them to make this deal possible. But if they had a token, which would have symbolized ownership in in many parts of Artifact, not just kind of like like assets that they've made, but potentially even the company itself, this deal would have looked a lot different. It may not have even happened really. And I think that's the other thing too. If you're a business building in crypto and you don't exit to community, meaning like you don't have a token that your community members can buy into, that now creates this level of ownership that they also have of this business, then you know you are probably like less likely to secure a buyout from an entity that you might like. Um, and again, that's like a question that like people who are building in this space have to ask themselves: like, is my goal to be bought out by another company, or is my goal for the community to sustain this even if I'm no longer there? What does that look like?
Mhm.
What are the challenges and the risks associated with it? Of course, the bigger risk for exiting to community is if you're not at the helm, or if someone else is not at the helm that like you've worked with or that you trust, how do you ensure that that brand, that name, that the community has longevity, has lasting, has staying power? Where like if you get bought out by another brand, you become subsumed by that larger brand name. So now you become uh, uh, you change into that rather than staying unique and different. Even though you might operate under that same title, eventually everything gets rolled up under that under the Nike brand, unless that name has like some lasting staying power. Um, but there's like again, like I said in the beginning of all this, there's two sides to this shit.
Mhm.
Um, we'll have to just see what the other side looks like when we flip the coin.
Facts.
Yeah.
You got anything else, bro?
Nah, man, that was a
Yeah,
good
it's been a
cap right
great
there.
talk, bro. Don't want to take up your whole morning. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? We
man.
know
We
you
gotta
got
lock
stuff to
in.
do.
Yeah, man. It's about to
Yeah,
be
man. So appreciate you coming on.
sure,
Any closing
always.
things you wanna end with? Anything you got going on you want to talk about? I mean, you're at the
Hey,
tournament, but
yeah, for real, for real. So, follow us at Blackhand. It's we took out all the vowels, so it's BL. We stylized the A into a V, so it's BLVKHVND. You can find us on Twitter. You can look us up blackhand.com. Um, yeah, we're like the first and like only decentralized esports group out. We're currently playing a Halo um, HCS Championship Series in Raleigh. Check us out on Twitter and or Twitch. They'll be streaming it. Our game started at 11. I'm about to go hit up check in. If you want to hit me up, follow me at Sir Suhaib, SIRSUHAYB on Twitter, or just look up sirsu.eth. Find me. Um, let's talk about shit. I like to talk shit as
for
usual.
sure.
I
He in
I
the Twitter
I
Spaces
that part
talking. Yeah, for
that part.
sure.
Yeah,
Anytime
I
I need
need
to
y'all
know
in.
some like, anytime I need to, I guess tap in with what's going on, I definitely hop in the room that you're leading. So that's a big
Appreciate
fact.
that. I got a show on Sundays now called the Surplus Show. I need y'all on there as like as my
Say
first guest
less.
Yeah, let's
Say
on
do it.
less.
Let's
Sunday.
do it.
On the Twitter
We gonna
Spaces or
get
what?
into
This
it.
on the YouTube or
It's
what?
Twitter
We
Spaces.
say
Yeah,
less.
let's
Say
do
less.
it.
Say less.
Yeah,
Let's get it.
Twitter's gonna be amplifying it too, so it's gonna be.
Oh,
Let's
very
get it.
fire. Let's get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's get it, Brody.
All right, man. Good
Yeah,
luck.
man. Kill the tournament today.
Yeah.
We're gonna tap in, bro. Peace.
Appreciate you, bro. All right, man. Yeah, that was very fire.
That was very fire,
Definitely
man.
appreciate Amir for coming on,
Sure.
having that talk, and then giving his perspective. I definitely
Sure.
was. I've heard him talking about this in his rooms and things like that,
Right.
but definitely wanted to sit down and have that
Yeah, because
conversation
the
with him.
first talk was definitely more so of a bio, where you at
And
with it,
people,
how you got
yeah,
here. So this is
yeah,
more so of
people
like, yo,
were,
let's get
yeah,
into
people were
parts of this shit.
definitely, there was mixed feelings all around about the news.
Right.
So it was definitely dope to get his perspective on here.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man. I guess you know what I'm saying. That's the show. It was a long one today,
Yeah, man.
but definitely worth it. You got anything you want to wrap up with?
Yeah, man, let's get into the weekend. More edits, more content creating, more planning. End the year strong. Start the new year right, but we
Oh,
still
we are
in
coming
this.
up on the damn
So we still
Christmas.
at the,
Christmas is about to happen. Yeah,
exactly, yeah.
shit. That might be this week or no, next week.
Today the 17th.
Today is the 17th. So yeah,
So,
we'll have another.
we'll
I think we'll have
have
another episode before
last year
Christmas.
we had one
On
already.
Christmas. Wasn't
Yeah,
that crazy?
so now this is way more fitting.
Yeah.
Nice.
yeah, so we'll definitely have another one before the holidays, but still happy holidays if we don't see y'all. And yeah, we're creeping up on the new year, so definitely got to get those New Year's goals intact. You know what I'm saying? Start thinking about that. I guess for me, I'm gonna be thinking about that this weekend and week. But yeah, man, I guess everybody have a good weekend, and we'll see y'all next week.
Early.